Hey guys, and welcome back to Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap. We're a mouse now. Our range is pitiful, but we've got a sword and shield and we can walk on ceilings and walls, so swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
It could be worse. We could be turned into, like, a newt or something. Certainly not a lot worse than a lizard.
It's a good job we've been turned into, like, furry versions of these animals, and not just, like, an actual mouse who can't carry a sword and shield.
This is true. Half man, half beast is the way to go in this game.
Wonder what he meant by that, feathered creatures.
That'll be the hawk transformation that'll be coming up much later on in around part 5.
Dude, these visuals, look at that distance!
The backgrounds are something special here, I have to say. You don't get much time to appreciate them when you're in among the chaos, like playing through this the first time, but since I played through this quite a bit, I can often just stop and appreciate the scenery.
Since I haven't actually played the game, I expect a lot of my commentary to just be, you know, gushing about the visuals, but I will try and do blow-by-blow commentary as it happens. Can you defeat these guys? Yes, you can. I thought they were going to be invincible for some reason.
No, they're just wall crawlers, and this was actually a treasure area I did not know about until maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Huh.
That goes to show that even when I'm playing this, like, 20-odd years later, I'm still finding things I didn't know about previously.
Oh, those are the best types of games, really, with secrets that last the ages, so to speak. And I just realised why I didn't think you'd be able to defeat those guys, because Zelda has similar enemies, you know, that you have to wait for them to pass before you can get through a door and whatnot.
Yeah, I can see why you'd think that, but luckily no such unfair shenaniganry here. The only thing that's close to invincible are those little blue glowing orb things, but if you use the boomerang you can actually destroy them. But that's literally the only weapon that can, so nothing is truly immortal in this game.
Even here, there are frogs. Although I suppose, you know, this is a swamp, right? It's more fitting for frogs to be here than inside a pyramid.
Although then again, even the pyramid one made sense now that we have the whole, Plague of Frogs thing to go off for.
Better Plague of Frogs than Plague of Grives. Not that I have anything against the guy. He draws stuff that is not fit to show before the watershed, is what I'm saying.
No, that's true, that is true. So this is, I wouldn't say it's a chill area, it's pretty challenging. I mean, these skeletons can cause a few problems since they can jump over your sword swings. And with the mouse man having as short range as he does, that can be difficult. But if you are fortunate enough to pick up a boomerang or two along your way, the skeletons are a lot easier because generally you can get them into a stun animation with the boomerang and then finish them off with a couple of stabs with your blade.
Nice.
Just demonstrating as well that the boomerang even works through walls.
Okay.
And it's also handy for picking up items as well, so if you find yourself in a position where an item's too far away and it's about to disappear, you can pick it up with the boomerang.
Ah. So many choices in this simple 2D Metroidvania platform.
I wouldn't say it was entirely ahead of its time, but it offered you a lot for what little it seemed to have on the surface. Like, there's a lot of cool little hidden things to find as far as secret treasure rooms, and there are even some items that have secret properties that you wouldn't know about unless you kind of fiddled around a bit and tried different controls and things like that.
I'm just looking up the original developer for, you know, the Master System version of Wonder Boy 3, and they're Whetstone Bit Entertainment. And let's see, what other games did they do? Oh, Jaws for the Famicom. Developed under subcontract with Atlas and published by LJN. Interesting.
They fell for LGN at the end, that is sad.
Well, the thing to take note of is LJN is a publisher. I don't think they've ever developed anything. In fact, Roger Rabbit for the NES was developed by Rare. Yes, the same people who'd go on to make Donkey Kong Country and Banjo-Kazooie and Jet Force Gemini and so on.
Although I suppose LGN is a bit like EA, where everything they touch seems to turn to shit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this was pre-LGN or if it was, something that he just made on the side and then LGN kind of bought them out afterwards to make more stuff.
Possibly. I ain't going that far into LJN's Wikipedia database. What do you take me for?
We have standards here at HFC.
So what is the strategic advantage of having your head float above your body, Mr. Skeleton? What are you hoping to achieve here?
Well, it will lead you into a false sense of security, for one. You don't expect the head to kind of suddenly detach and then start charging at you.
True, true.
It's a little less conspicuous in the Master System version, if I have to be honest. Although then again, maybe I've just played it so many times I'm just that familiar with their tricks now. So this shop here actually allows you to buy more potions, but you can only ever have a maximum of 3. So since we're already maxed out, we can't actually buy anymore. So it's more just to grab the treasure that was there and continue our merry way.
So our continues basically lives in this game. There's like no both scenario.
Well, if you run out of health and you have a potion, you'll use the potion and then continue from where you were. If you run out of health and you don't have any potions, then you die. You go onto this whole roulette thing for the chance to be rewarded with a free potion, and you get teleported back to town. However, you will lose all of your items. Not like your weapons, but like your boomerangs, your fireballs, that sort of thing. So if you collected a bunch of those, you may want to try and avoid death as much as possible. So having that medicine shop on standby is a nice way to go.
It does feel very adventurous. You gotta remember this originally came out on an 8-bit system.
It did offer you a lot. I think the only other game I can think of off the top of my head that I played on the Master System that offered anything remotely close to this was the first Phantasy Star game, actually. But then again, that was a full-blown RPG. But, you know, RPGs were still fairly new at the time, and that was fairly expansive as far as RPGs went.
Yeah, yeah. You know me, mate. My tastes are the most pleb. I just use the Master System as like a Sonic machine, much like my Dreamcast, which is kind of sad because Dreamcast had other games like Jet Set Radio and stuff like that. I think the only other game I had was Quake 3 Arena, and I barely played that.
I didn't have that many games on the Master System either, because of course I didn't really own a Master System myself, but there were like aunts and uncles and grandparents I knew that had them, and had their own little collection of different games as well. So apart from Sonic 1, 2 and this, I also got the chance to play the R-Type on the Sega Master System. I got to play California games, there was Olympic Gold. So there was a few things I got to play, but Wonder Boy 3 stands out as the most memorable. And still stands to this day, even if the gameplay might be a little dated by today's standards, certainly.
It looks fine to me, mate. It just looks like a standard 2D platformer with a bit of gravity shenanigans thrown in.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But yeah, I mean, obviously by today's standard it's not as spectacular, but it does what it sets out to do and nothing more. It is pretty much Wonder Boy 3 kept at its purest form, but, you know, with a new soundtrack, a new lick of paint, a few bits and bobs here and there changed and some extra bits thrown in as well, but apart from that, it is essentially the same game.
Question for you, mate.
Sure.
Did you have the first version of the Master System or the second?
Well, I had an aunt and uncle who had the first version, and I had another aunt and uncle and a grandparent that had the second version. I never actually owned a Master System myself, I would say.
Heresy.
Yeah, the first console I actually ever owned was, of course, my trusty old Mega Drive, which is still alive and kicking to this day.
Oh, bless you.
With the original Sonic the Comic transfers as well, that I just thrown on there for good measure.
Oh, man, I've got a thing to bring up about the UK Sonic the Comic, but I kind of want to save it, just in case I run out of commentary in like part 4 or something.
That's fair enough. This was a neat little touch as well. In the original, when you start going down the hole, the music changes to sort of like this sort of happy, cheery, falling down a hole music. It's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's very jaunty.
And then it goes back to normal. You know, it just randomly throws that in there for you, just to keep things interesting, I suppose.
I've got to say, like, watching you leap up to the ceiling and, like, back down to dodge projectiles and whatnot puts me in mind of Viva V. You ever played that?
Oh yes, I have. Very fun game. And yeah, it is quite reminiscent of that, except, obviously you're not just switching around gravity, you're literally sticking to the wall. So it's a little bit less impressive, I suppose, than literally having powers over gravity itself, but, you know, it gets the job done.
We could possibly do a Spot of PC episode on that, and by the way, new episode of that coming this month, by the way. We just had to take a month off for schedule issues, although the only problem is, it's such a short game, we could probably beat it in one episode sitting.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I was good enough, I could probably get that shit done in half an hour, but of course that would require a fair amount of practice on my part, and demands on my time are formidable, so finding the time to practice is one thing, getting good at it is another. There we go, we are slowly making our way up towards the boss door now. Shouldn't be too long now, a few more trials and tribulations to go.
That's my favourite Phoenix Wright game.
Oh, that was like top tier DS game in my honest opinion.
Yeah, what's your favourite Ace Attorney game, mate?
I would honestly have to say Trials and Tribulations. Had pretty much the best of all worlds, and the story was just so good.
It was, it really was.
Like, without revealing anything, because obviously, if people haven't played it, I wouldn't want to spoil anything, but, you know, it was just so good. There was so much tension in there.
Dragon Zombie, now we're talking.
This boss is actually probably one of the easiest in the game. Probably even easier than Mummy Dragon, if I have to be honest. He kind of just swims around a bit. If you jump at the right time, he'll pop his head up and allow you to get hit on him. I actually tried to see if I could use the fireball in tandem, so I can kind of stun lock him, but he only allows you to one hit before he retreats back down to the sewage water, I suppose.
Kind of reminds me of an easier version of Wheelgater from Mega Man X2, I want to say. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I get the game wrong.
I love the accordion in the background whilst this is going on. One thing as well that the artist did in the remake was actually give the boss rooms a lot more flavor as well, because in the original these were basically just black background rooms with the boss and nothing else to it really, but these give them so much more life.
It has its own dramatic flair if you're fighting in the void, but you know, you want to give your bosses personality, you want to give their lairs personality, and this fucking will-o-wisp again. What are you gonna turn me into this time?
This smug motherfucker, just look at him. He's like, I'm gonna get ya. I'm offering you coins, but I'm gonna get ya. Bastard.
And we are...
Piranha Man!
Huh. You sure that's a piranha and not, like, I don't know, just a fish?
I've seen the credits enough time to know that it is a Piranha Man, in spite what it might look like.
So why do we not just have a bite power-up instead of using a sword and a shield then? Although I suppose if you want to wait until next time, we can go over the various, you know, hithertos and why-falls of Piranha Man.
Yeah, that is true, because this part is very, very close to ending. So, tune in to part 3, where we will continue the adventures of Wonder Boy as Piranha Man.
Alright guys, see you next time.